first up is VTuber Legend, How I Went Viral After Forgetting to Turn Off My Stream, Volume 2. Now this is an interesting one. It's actually one that I was meaning to cover on the channel as a full-on review. I just never really got around to it. It was just because, of course, VTubers, I had to pick this one up and give it a shot. And, you know, I quite enjoyed Volume 1. Volume 1 is about a young woman who has decided to take a career path in VTubing. If you don't know what VTubing is, basically virtual YouTubers. Basically much like this.
Okay, I am safe driver. You are dangerous driver. Okay, 이상한 바가가. 야메로!
In this scenario, she is struggling. She's not that popular of a character, but one day she forgets to turn off her stream, and on the back of that, she goes absolutely viral. The reason being, well, she just likes to drink, and she's obsessed with being a little bit lewd. Now, that is kind of the synopsis. She kind of takes off and becomes mega popular because of this whole thing of her being, oh well, you know, she loves drinking, she loves being a bit crass and obscene and a bit lewd. And yeah, the first volume was okay. It was decent enough for a first volume. The second volume, however, I'm not sure about this one. Now, it's very difficult to capture the magic of VTubers in book form. I can agree with that. However, my problem is that pretty much every single character is essentially just a hornball, and it kind of pulls away from it. Now, my whole thing with VTubers is that you are meant to believe. You know that there is somebody behind the camera, but they make you believe that they are a cute gamer doggo, or a phoenix, or a time traveller, or war criminal. But this kind of it's just people being excessively horny around each other. There's very little in terms of the whole other things that VTubers do. Yeah, they do have a little bit of actually doing gaming streams, but it's not really the focus. It's just kind of, I feel like the author has many kinks, and he's just kind of thrown all those kinks into each character, and each of those characters just constantly do that. For example, there's one who's just like, I want to be a baby, so I'm going to be a baby and make baby noises, and everybody else has got to treat me like a baby, and I was just like, okay. And it kind of, they do that with every single character introduced in Volume 2, that it kind of makes it feel unbelievable. I mean, at the end of the day, with VTubing as well, for example, you have Coronel, or you have Kiara, or Watson, or whoever, but after a few weeks you start to get the real side of them, and that's what makes you really enjoy their content. You get that mishmash of, well, she's a cute gaming doggo, but she's also wants to take your fingers, or she also has a really, really, really intense love for retro gaming, and that shows on the streams. This just feels like characters just being horny for the sake of being horny, and it really doesn't work for me in that aspect, which is a huge shame. I'm going to give it one more volume, and then after that I'm probably going to drop it if it doesn't pick up, unfortunately. Next up is an interesting duo of titles. That is Division Maneuver 1 and 2. So I was in HMV, that's right, HMV, the place that sells DVDs and CDs, and they had a manga section. That's right, they had a manga section selling old, out of print or very out of stock manga, along with a few light novels, for £5 each. And I noticed they had Division Maneuver 1 and 2. Now, I knew at 2 volumes this was complete, so I thought, you know what, I'll pick it up, and I just thought I'd try it, get it out of the way, because one of the things I hate doing is getting a lot of volumes and just leaving them. And I thought, you know what, I'll try Volume 1, and yeah, this is horny as well. This is basically about the mankind's strongest warrior, who is basically isekai'd as a child, and then has to train to take on the alien menace. except he teams up with Boob Girl, who also falls in love with him. That's right, it's a straight shorter series, and there's a lot of ecchi shenanigans and beach episodes and all of the things you kind of expect in an ecchi series in Volume 1. And they kind of wrap most things up in Volume 1. And then Volume 2 happens. And yeah, Volume 2 doesn't need to exist. In fact, I would probably recommend this as a Volume 1 standalone more than actually delving into Volume 2, because Volume 2 introduces more characters. It gets a little bit too complex for what it should be, and then runs out of time and quickly finishes everything off. It's not that great of a series, I'm not going to lie. It's one of those ones where I'd probably see it, yeah, you probably don't need to kind of check this one out, but if you see it in HMV, 10 quid for 2 volumes, I'd still recommend checking it out, because at the very worst, you cannot call a series bad until you have read bad series. And it also makes you appreciate the good series all that more. Next up is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Volumes 14 and 15, I can only be bothered to hold up one at the moment. Yeah, I'm a little bit lazy like that. Now, you guys are probably already aware of this series. In fact, it's getting a movie that's going to be on in cinemas in the next 2 weeks. That's right, a slime isekai movie. It's filler, so you don't need to have seen all of the series, but I'd probably recommend at least reading up to and including Volume 6 or watching both seasons of the anime. Now, this takes far further away than the anime, so I'm going to leave this brief. This was weird. So one of the things I do love about That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is that it's got a lot of political stuff, but it also has a lot of, well, shonen battles. And this one is a perfect example of it, because this has ridiculous shonen upgrades, you know, Dragon Ball era stupid upgrades, overpowered characters fighting overpowered characters, and absolute nonsense. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you look at it in that aspect, that it is a ridiculous over-the-top battle shonen, you're probably gonna be pretty okay with it. If you look at it compared to the rest of the series, however, it's starting to become apparent that the authors kind of writ themselves in a corner where they just have to keep upping the scales, and just having to pull out weird over-the-top upgrades just to kind of keep things balanced between Rimuru and the enemies. It's kind of getting a little bit too ridiculous compared to the early stuff, and the political stuff, the city building has definitely taken a back seat. So if that's what you're kind of into, you're probably not going to have as great of a time, but it's still pretty much the same. It's just, I just feel like if you compare this to the early stuff, it's completely different and not the best for it. Next up, we have another series that, I'm not going to lie, I thought this one got canned. And I'm not going to lie, I really liked Volume 1 of this one. Volume 2 was okay. Volume 3, yeah, got a bit of a yikes. So this is Dungeon Busters, released by J Novel Club. Volume 3, I believe Volume 4 might actually be out this month. But yeah, this is about a bunch of dungeons appear in the real world, and people have to start clearing them. And when you clear them, you have the potential to get a rare card, which turns into a waifu or husband, or basically one of the 108 stars of destiny. That's right. So yeah, I like this one. I like the whole, it started off as one of those stat series where you got, you know, characters with stats, and there was a very adult take on it. And I like that. I like the whole fact that it was adults going in with an adult perspective. And Volume 2 kind of did the same. More dungeons needed to be cleared. There's a card gacha as well, where you get cards with different abilities or items or what have you on there. And then Volume 3 kind of, it's still got the dungeon clearing, but you can tell it's getting a bit too political. Now, I kind of like the idea of them focusing on the political side of things. I mean, what would the US do, or what would the Vatican do, or what would the different superpowers of the world do if these things appeared and it kind of would change the course of the world? But you can tell the author's intentions are pretty obvious in here. Now you are going to get a lot of tropes, you're going to get a lot of yeah, it's just kind of, you look at some of the stuff it comes out with and you're just like, no, this just isn't, this doesn't sound right, this doesn't sound right. Now, at the end of the day, one of the things we do need to keep a mind of is that different countries, different parts of the world have different upbringings. And one of the things that is a big thing is that Japan is going to have a different history lessons to the US, to the point that it's actually quite scary how missing some parts are. But it's going to be the same for the West. The West isn't going to skirt over other places. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm more than happy to have the political side of things, but it really feels in Volume 3 this comes at a cost of the dungeon busting, the whole going in and clearing the dungeons for rare cards and new waifu and husbando or what have you. I mean, it kind of feels like that takes a back seat, which is a huge shame. A huge shame indeed, because I really did enjoy Volume 1 and Volume 2 was pretty okay, but Volume 3, I mean, it was a bit of a yikes. I'm going to give it one more volume again, and I think if I don't like it after that, I'm just going to drop it. Next up, we have banished from the hero's party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. Now, I'm not going to lie, I really was surprised that I hadn't caught up on this one before now, because I read this one on, I think it was on Christmas Day, maybe Boxing Day, and I absolutely loved it. I really had a good time with this one, to the point that I actually realised that there was an anime, and I was just like, oh, I need to binge the anime, to the point I realised, oh, the anime is actually coming out on home video in a few weeks' time, so do I binge it on Crunchyroll or do I check it out? This is about a young man who is essentially kicked out of the hero's party because he starts being a little bit dangerous and a little bit of a liability. And so he just goes, oh, okay, I'll do my own thing. And he goes to a quiet village and starts planning to open up an apothecary. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Apothecary. Yeah. So, yeah, he's having a bit of a quiet life. He's just kind of getting rid of things here and there, not trying to make people's eyes on him. And then the princess from the other country who he befriended decides to rock up and just move in with him. And yeah, I mean, this is one, it's quite an interesting one. It's not 100% comfy, it's not comfy like the slime killing one. But yeah, there's a lot of really comfy moments in here, which I did really appreciate. This is actually the one out of all of the digital stuff I've read as of late that I was kind of like, yeah, I really want to go whole in on this one. But yeah, I really had a good time with it. I'm looking forward to checking out more. I will do a full-on review on this one, I think, in the near future, because I want to read more, and I want to read more very soon. Another series that I've just been reading on digital was another one that people hyped up, and yeah, you guys were right. Reincarnated as a sword. It was ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun. I really had a good time with that particular one. So, Reincarnated as a Sword is about a guy who gets hit by a car and is reborn as a sword. That's right, a sword that can't do much, but then he ends up overpowered and he can use telepathy and float and attack with fireballs, all that ridiculous stuff. And then he helps a slave girl out who takes the sword as her own, and they start having adventures together. It's another one of those stat-filled isekai series that it's just a nice palate cleanser. It was very nice to come and read that after reading a few more difficult ones, for example like the VTuber and Dungeon Busters. It was so nice to read the Sword Isekai one, because yeah, it was ridiculous, but it was the same ridiculous as what made vending machines so fun, and Spider and Slime and stuff like that. It's just Reincarnated as a thing. I now am overpowered and I'm going to do lots of adventuring and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, I love these types of series, and I'm looking forward to reading more of it. It was another one, much like Banished from the Heroes Party. I really just wanted to read every single one I could find of the volumes, but I held off for now. The next one we have is actually the very first light novel I read in 2023, and it's a continuation. In fact, I just read volume 8 and volume 9 just appeared through the door today. That's right, Rascal does not dream of her sister venturing out. This is beyond the anime now, so this is going to be everything that's happening beyond the anime, and I'm going to try and make it simple. This is a really great series. I absolutely adore this series. So one of the things that was kind of left unsolved in the whole anime and the light novel was the younger sister. She still hasn't made it to school, and this volume is largely all about that. About the younger sister overcoming her fears to try and just have a normal school life, and it's a very good one. It's very heartbreaking. If you like the Sister Home Alone one, do check this one out, because this one continues on from that plot thread and was very good. The only thing I didn't like is that in the last 20 pages or so, it kind of starts pushing towards the next volume, and we don't have everything resolved in here. This is still ongoing, the sister plot thread, which is fine, but I kind of felt that we should have had a little bit more of a finality than what we did. And I wasn't too keen on the fact that it just kind of just all of a sudden went, oh yeah, by the way, this is happening in the next volume, and we're going to start throwing that plot into us now. And I don't know, it just kind of bothered me a little bit. But it made me buy volume 9 straight away, so hey, can't complain about that. Next up, we have technically a light novel, but also not a light novel. I don't consider these to be light novels. So this is Fox Tales by Tomihiko Morimi, who created The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, Penguin Highway, Tower of the Sun, which I also did read. I believe I did cover that in a previous video, but I will be covering all of their works soon. But yeah, Fox Tales is a more horror focused title, and this isn't your horror as in look at that guy, he's got a knife, stab, blood, that you see in a Western series. It's not your Western horror over the top monsters going stabbing things or slashers or whatever you call them. This is a very Japanese horror, and if you know Tomihiko Morimi's works, it's a very Kyoto and traditional feeling title. This is a story about yokai and things that aren't always as they seem. It's not particularly scary. It's not the same as your Junji Ito gross out horror series, but it is very unsettling, and there is a lot of dark themes in here, which I really did appreciate. I couldn't put this one down. I really enjoyed it. I just wanted to find out more. I could have done with a little bit more. This stands at around 230 pages. I just felt like I could have just done with another story. There's 4 little short stories, all with an interwoven connection in here. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wanted more, to the point that I went and bought Tomihiko Morimi's other English title. And that's right, it's probably Tomihiko Morimi's most well-known work, and I'm going to be honest, it's probably my favourite one. This was the last book I read in 2022, and it's one of my favourite anime of all time. While I do love Night is Short, Walk On Girl, this one came before it, and this is the Tatami Galaxy. Now, this has actually been released by Harper Via, not by Yen Press. However, they did get the same translator to do the work on this as they did for Night is Short, Walk On Girl, and honestly, this one is fantastic. This is probably one of my favourite books I've read. So the story behind Tatami Galaxy is interesting. It's about a young man who's in his college life, and he's looking back on it and he's thinking, well, it wasn't great. I met this guy called Ozu, and he's always annoying us, and you know, he made my life a living hell, and I just wish I kind of went back and did something different. And that's the whole thing about this series, is that it is about make use of what you've got in front of you. Grab that, what you've got. Don't go wishing that you had a better life. And it focuses on multiple little short stories about what happened if he joined the film club. What if he trained under this proxy war and joined this proxy war? What happened if he went to this hygienist? And what if he just looked for love? And it's all very interesting and interwoven, and it's a fantastic read, honestly. If you have watched the series, I would recommend checking out the book, because it is a really good read as it is. And honestly, I've had such a good time with this particular one. It's definitely one of my top favourite novels of all time. Such a great one. I will be doing a full-on retrospect on Tomihiko Morimi. I haven't read the Penguin Highway release yet, and I believe the sequel to Tatami Galaxy is getting released, so I might hold out on that, but that is something I'm intending to do in the new year. I also have a pretty exciting announcement once we've finished some paperwork, so get excited for that. All I'm going to say is there's going to be a lot of light novel content coming on the channel. A lot of light novel content from a certain publisher. Wink, wink. And no, it's not the Hatchama collab. So, before we head off, thank you. Thank you for staying till the very end. It means a lot. And if you did like it, leave a like and let me know in the comments, what have you been reading in December? And what series are you planning on picking up in the new year? If you did enjoy this, go check out this video I've got over here. And I'll see you there. Goodbye.